Right.
One thing I heard a very interesting story yesterday that I didn't know about from
Yeah.
another. Sorry, I don't mean to be touting our Minnesota
No.
heroes, but Prince.
Okay.
So Prince, when he was apparently in a dispute with his label, it's well covered.
Mhm.
Apparently, he built in. He wasn't getting the royalties he wanted out of the actual album sales. So when
Mhm.
he went on tour, supposedly he built in an extra $10 or $12 per ticket,
Oh,
and he went and sold a 6 million copies because it was on top of all the ticket sales, so it was the equivalent. So he said, okay, if I'm not going to get my royalties, I know what I'm getting from touring, so
right.
I'm going to add that on top, and I'm going to
Right.
make money on top, just a little bit.
Right.
Again, fair to the audience. Well, people will pay a lot of money to see Prince, of
Prince. Yeah.
course.
Right. Right.
But again, it kind of piggybacks on the live touring part.
Mhm.
I mean, live shows, now that they're coming back, hopefully everyone is healthy, everyone's able to go out, you don't have restrictions.
Right.
Your merch table at those shows,
Huge.
killing it,
Right.
killing it. I
Right.
hope every cover artist goes out and they have their little merch table and whatnot.
Right.
That's going to be your number one money makers on the point of sale with the humans.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Kevin from Music with Flavor, where we bring you or help you taste success within the music industry. I'm joined once again by Aaron Green of Easy Song Licensing, and we're here to dive deeper into the complicated topic of music licensing in hopes to make your life a little easier in that area. So, today our main focus will be on cover songs and the opportunity that this can, create for artists, songwriters on both sides of the equation. So, with that said, I'd like to give a warm welcome to Aaron Green today. How you doing?
Hey, Kevin, doing great, man. How about you?
I'm doing great. I can't complain. It's nice and sunny over here, so I'm enjoying the day so far. That's for sure.
It is not sunny over here. It's 49 and rainy around Minneapolis, but
Oh,
it's a cozy day. It was like 90 degrees, and I call this dad weather. It's okay.
right. That's true. And it's almost the weekend, so I can't complain at the end of the day. For sure, for sure. So yeah, I mean, with this topic, I know the last chat, we kind of gave a broad overview of licensing in general and kind of what easy song licensing can do for artists. But I thought it'd be cool to, dive into cover songs and how that can be of benefit to artists. I know with that, there's a lot that kind of can be tackled when it comes to topics of specific licenses. So when we think of cover songs, can you kind of dive into what specific licenses artists need to be, cautious of when we're talking about that situation and getting those done?
Yeah, so cover song licensing is basically you, as the recording artist, are recording either an audio or a video product typically on a composition you didn't write, or you're taking a part of a composition and adding to it or embedding into your own work, your own
Right.
composition. So it's kind of different where we say, is it a straight cover song? When we say a straight cover song, we're referring to start to finish, same copyrighted lyrics that you're re-recording,
Mhm.
same fundamental melody. You might do it in your own way. You might have a different tempo, maybe different genre of music, but it's the same fundamental characteristics and it's recognizable to the original work. But this is something you did not write and you're releasing your own audio or video product.
Right. Right. No, and I think that's something that is to me fairly interesting because um, not all artists kind of understand that. I mean, there's different variations. Some people think remixes, some people think mashups and things like that. But it's very interesting what you're saying as well. You can't really change the dynamic of it. You obviously put your own flair on it and make it your own in some ways. And but yes, I think there is sometimes that gray area of what is considered a cover song and what's not. Right. I think could you give some do you have examples of artists like I know there's so many maybe that seen of killing it with cover songs on their own way? I know some artists even just do that on their, that's all they do really is cover songs. So, do you have examples of artists that you know that are killing it in that realm?
Well, pretty much all of our artists, all of our user base have used cover music in one way or another.
Mhm.
There's a few in particular. There are some vendors, and we're talking platinum producer vendors. One is Karaoke Pop Hits, and also 8-Bit Music.
Mhm.
This is a vendor, a really good client of ours, and he has a studio and he has so many uh, different instrumentalists, vocalists, hip hop artists, and basically he basically continuously checks out Billboard and what's charting, like top 10 music, like daily, almost like a day trader with
Right,
stock. And he has to be first to market to put out the cover version.
right,
And he has amazing, amazing covers. And again, we have a few artists and studios like this, but I mean, this one in particular, Karaoke Pop Hits. I mean, he has, like the number one Beatles cover catalog before Beatles actually came to iTunes, and it's a huge, huge venture there.
yeah,
But we're talking like movies want take his music. The Today Show.
mhm,
He's even been included in Adam Sandler movies and whatnot, where you think you're hearing the original,
right,
but he just happens to have fantastic replicas, fantastic studio production, and just a great team, and it meshes all together. And you're almost like, is that a sample? No, that's the real one. That's the actual replica. But
right,
again, on the flip side, we have artists that will do like a reggae version of a rock song or vice versa, or they'll do a singer songwriter of a hardcore metal song. And
right.
I mean, again, it's giving the new audience, the new generation, a fresh flavor on maybe something that was recorded in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, something like that. And that's big.
Right.
As an up and coming artist, they're going to recognize the song and hey, we'll check out what else he or she has written.
Right.
So cover it's a huge net for a startup artist.
Right, right, and that's I think artists who some I know some people that just don't see it as that. They just see it, oh, it's I can do a cover song and we'll see what happens. But to your point, even just from that person's side, it's a pretty big business in the sense of that, and if trying to get to market first, and putting your own flair on it, and sometimes these songs seem to the cover seems to become bigger than the actual in some situations too. So, could you speak to maybe, I know some of the benefits for artists in doing cover songs? In terms of, I think of one that comes to mind is, performing live at a show to a crowd that nobody knows you. You might be, new to the town or whatever, and trying to play new tracks that someone just doesn't know of you can be kind of hard to get the crowd engaged and into it. But when you give something that's familiar, that makes it a bit easier for people to be receptive of it and like what you're doing, I guess, if that makes sense. But could you speak to maybe any more like benefits that cover songs can have for artists?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Let's look at the Rolling Stones back in the early mid '60s. They brought where blues was kind of starting to be kind of the genre was kind of dying at the time. If you've read your history books and you've seen your rock docs, but
Yeah.
they introduce like Howling Wolf and they'll introduce like Muddy Waters and Rolling Stones were a big band coming out of the UK and coming to America, but
Mhm.
they started doing blues covers, but doing kind of a hard rock, the Stones kind of way.
Right.
That template has been in place forever.
Mhm.
Um, well, I'm not going to say it's his most successful album, but Bob Dylan, Minnesota's own, his first album was pretty much all
Cover.
covers. Again, it wasn't his most grossing success, but he had an interesting take on it, the
Right.
Bob Dylan way. And then all of a sudden, that starts to pick up steam, and he starts to come up with all of those crazy good original compositions that people started falling in love with, the singer songwriter and all that.
Right.
But you're 100% right. If you're going to go play your original music,
Mhm.
it's really, really difficult to have a whole mass audience start accepting that. And it doesn't happen that often. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in
Mhm.
the YouTube era, but I mean, doing a killer rendition of an Adele song, or maybe another charting hit.
Right.
But one thing I do like to point out from not necessarily a live performance perspective, but from a record recording perspective,
Hmm.
is that if you want to release your own audio only product and you want to do a cover version, at least here in the US compulsory law enables you to go re-record a straight cover song and release an audio only product, and you don't need special permission from the actual songwriter administration like the publisher.
Hmm.
And again, there's parameters you need to follow. I mean, I know we went over this last time
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
but same lyrics, same melody, and it has to be audio only, private listening to the end user. But you could put out CDs, vinyl, interactive audio streams, downloads. Great way. It's super affordable. And there's companies like mine, you would actually go through our Clear Cover Song portal, and we get you a proof of licensing in 2 business days.
Hmm.
We have to file it with the publisher, and we have to pay the proper royalties, but it's super cheap, super inexpensive, and you can go put out your own cover record and get out to the masses right away. So
Right.
it's pretty cool.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. No, that's makes a lot of sense, and I think the opportunities there are pretty insane. There's and great examples of huge artists that have leaned on this as well. So it's not like this is something new. It's been around for quite some time, and it makes sense to take advantage of it because there are a lot of benefits to it. You spoke about the money, and I think we kind of touched on this the last time too. But I'm wondering what is kind of potential for income. And I know this is a beast of a question, but depending on the artist, how would that break down in terms of potential? I put out a cover song, is there an ability for me to make money there from that as the artist putting that out, if that makes sense?
Here's what I'll say. Right now, the main music media format to the masses is interactive audio streaming. You're talking Spotify,
Right.
or they're releasing a record on YouTube or a video platform.
Hmm.
I'll say this from an audio only perspective, you're probably getting the most returns if you're looking at an ROI, return on investment,
Hmm.
would be probably physical media, CDs or vinyl, or digital downloads.
Okay.
Instead of making fractions of a penny through the Spotify's of the world, when
Right.
you actually sell a record, which I know there's companies that specialize, and again, we partner with CD Baby. They have a phenomenal team over there, all digital stores, but selling physical media at shows, hopefully, shows are starting to come back.
Right.
That's going to be your big, like selling 1 or 2 CDs in your guitar case in front
Hmm.
is a lot more ROI than selling how many streams online. Again, you're getting fractions.
Right. Right.
And if it's a cover song, there's more money taken out of that. So in my opinion, digital downloads, they're still out there. It's not necessarily the main when it comes to like Billboard, but for
Hmm.
cover artists, we still license lots of downloads
Right.
where they're paying 99 cents or 9.99 for an album or 5.99 versus I have a subscription, I'm going to stream it.
Right.
One thing I heard a very interesting story yesterday that I didn't know about from
Yeah.
another. Sorry, I don't mean to be touting our Minnesota
No.
heroes, but Prince.
Okay.
So Prince, when he was apparently in a dispute with his label, it's well covered.
Hmm.
Apparently, he built in. He wasn't getting the royalties he wanted out of the actual album sales. So when
Hmm.
he went on tour, supposedly he built in an extra $10 or $12 per ticket,
Oh.
and he went and sold a 6 million copies because it was on top of all the ticket sales, so it was the equivalent. So he said, okay, if I'm not going to get my royalties, I know what I'm getting from touring, so
Right.
I'm going to add that on top, and I'm going to
Right.
make money on top, just a little bit.
Right.
Again, fair to the audience. Well, people will pay a lot of money to see Prince, of
Prince. Yeah.
course.
Right. Right.
But again, it kind of piggybacks on the live touring part.
Hmm.
I mean, live shows, now that they're coming back, hopefully everyone is healthy, everyone's able to go out, you don't have restrictions.
Right.
Your merch table at those shows, killing it,
Right.
killing it. I
Right.
hope every cover artist goes out and they have their little merch table and whatnot.
Right.
That's going to be your number one money makers on the point of sale with the humans.
Right, right. And when you think about it, if you even sell one CD to someone, that's maybe $10 or something like that. like you're talking about the fraction on streams, depending on who you are, that might take a while for you to get that $10 out of streaming, right? So that does make a lot of sense in that regard. And yeah, there's so many Prince stories of him just giving it to the system, I guess you could say. But no, that's pretty cool. And with that, that adds up on a guy like Prince too. I mean, we're saying just $10 on top, but when you multiply that by the factor of tickets he's probably selling, that's insane. Yeah. So, with regards to licensing for the cover song, we talked about mentioning how a piece of the pie is another chunk is coming off that you're not going to get because it's not necessarily yours from the get go. Is it true that you have to state, projected sales in order to, release that correctly, I guess? And how does that work? If your projections are maybe too high or too low, kind of thing.
Well, like for example, through our system, if you're going to license, let's say, physical media or digital downloads,
Hmm.
yes, you would need to pre-buy for how many you expect to sell. Now,
Hmm.
the good news here is that you can start low, like
Okay.
25 units is our minimum, 25 downloads. It is
Okay.
very easy to come back and reorder.
Right.
We actually sell a service called our Seal of Authenticity, where you can actually put the special code, the special this is embedded either on your physical media, thumbnail on your digital album, or on your website. Anybody can check out your proof of licensing. But what's nice about this, it's fee-free reorders,
Hmm.
where my company, we charge you a small upfront fee for the seal, and you
Right.
can come back as much as you want to go reorder, and you're only paying the mechanical royalty rate,
Right.
which anything under 5 minutes is 9.1 cents per unit.
Right.
Okay?
Hmm.
So that's for physical CDs, vinyl, and downloads mainly. Now, for interactive audio streaming, this is with all major streaming platforms in 2021. There's something called the MLC, the Mechanical Licensing Collective, that was established,
Hmm.
and all these streaming stores are supposed to be paying royalties when distribution takes place.
Right.
So, basically, the licensing is handled there. The only problem with this is it a straight cover? Were there samples used? Did they change lyrics? I've had to clean up lots of messes for people where they'll just go through a major streaming platform, didn't go through the right vetted process to make sure that they know about the law.
Right.
And again, for streaming platforms who handle this, they're not going to check every single individual one, but we'll
Right.
get calls from Disney or Universal or Sony or something like that.
Hmm.
And they ask, is this a client of yours? And again, when people agree that they're buying a mechanical license, it's vetted out where you're not messing with the copyright. You're doing your own rendition of it, but you're not messing with all that.
Right.
So, Kevin, I'm not sure if that was the answer to your question, but
Yeah.
this is a pain point in our industry right now.
I mean, I think it's just starting small. If you're like an independent, it makes sense to me to be like, okay, I'm not maybe gonna say 1,000 or whatever projected sales maybe. But I think having that in your mindset to just be realistic and just start small, like you're saying. And it's good that you guys provide like a somewhat of a minimum, and it's not like you're recharging every time for that fee up front to get it going, kind of thing. But I think it seems so straightforward in the sense of don't change the lyrics for a cover song, or you can't really change things. But I think from a creative aspect, I can see where artists kind of fall into that, where maybe I'm going to change a few things here and there just to put my own flair on it. And I think obviously it's good to know that you can't really, not that you can't do it, but that's changing. You're moving the goalpost on what type of licensing that would be, right? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, we have clients that call us up Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 o'clock, or they'll email us and they'll just say, can you listen to our stuff? Or this is what I've done with it. So it's free to talk to us. And we
Right.
do have custom licensing, so our custom licensing service where you hire us to actually go to the rights holder, go to bat for you, and
Mhm.
we try to get you approved. And again, we know all these rights holders very well. Like last time I brought up Sony. With
Right.
Sony, you can't change lyrics, you can't add lyrics, you just can't. Like
Mhm.
it's a policy, zero tolerance across the board. But
Right.
again, There's a lot of other publishers that are a little more open and friendly. I'm not saying it will always work,
Right.
but sometimes it's just like we're changing a gender pronoun. I'm changing a she to a he or she to, or I'm changing the city that they mentioned to my city or
Right.
something very minor. And there's a way we can spin this to publishers to make sure our clients come off as harmless as possible. So
Right.
I don't always want to say it's impossible to do it, but a
Right.
standard compulsory mechanical, there's a reason why we don't need special permission if you're going by those rules.
Right.
If you're going outside where this is a whole different melody, like if you were to take out your vocals and the
Hmm.
original vocals, and let's kind of match up both instrumentals.
Hmm.
One, I can't recognize the one from the other. Well,
Right.
that's going to be considered a derivative. Now, it's a gray area. Who makes that call? How
Right.
close is it to the original melody, or is it a really far left turn?
Right.
My answer is, well, I can get an answer for you. I know what doors to knock down, and
Right.
let's go ask and let's make sure that okay, we're not asking for publishing income. We're not gonna, register this necessarily with ASCAP or BMI as my own original work.
Hmm.
And again, there's ways that we can present this to make sure that this is hopefully an easy yes on a silver platter.
Right. Right. And I've, dealt with some artists, and I commend them because, they're don't maybe have representation, and they've tried knocking down some of those doors that maybe you've, deal with on a daily basis. And I think sometimes it's a surprise for them in terms of, they'll say, hey, well, I'm trying to make this cover, but I just want the audio, right? And it's like, that's not really a cover anymore because you're changing everything with the lyrics, right? And also the rebuttal that they'll get is that, hey, you're fine to do that, but we're gonna own pretty much everything is what they're asking after that. So can you? I guess we kind of touched on that last time, but it's interesting to me. Like you're kind of once you go over that line, you're kind of in a no man's land to a degree on what the other person can request, right?
Right, right. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're using any copyrighted composition, only the publisher or the songwriter administration can give that permission if you're changing, adding words, all that.
Right,
I will say this to all of your audience out there. Sometimes it's like an audition,
right,
and there's killer cover artists in a really cool rendition, or
right,
we've brought this old country song that hasn't been played for a long time. It's only been this, but I've modernized it.
mm,
And maybe I have a small following on YouTube, or
right,
I have something cooking over here, or I'm a first time artist, but holy cow, the publishers, everyone's blown away by this. And again, this doesn't happen that often, but
right,
I have had publishers come back. Their client, which is the songwriter camp, sometimes it's them dealing with the actual songwriter directly, or
right,
their manager, lawyer, or whatever it is, or next of kin,
mm,
something like that. And they'll say, "This is amazing. Um, can you give me the contact information for your client? We have a collaboration idea that we wanted to present, and we heard this and we were blown away." Again, I don't want to Hollywood everybody
yeah,
up like this,
right,
but it happens. It does happen where you have
mm,
someone taking a really cool rendition. So yeah, it's case by case, and if they love your version, yeah, they may not give you publishing rights, or
right,
they might give. It could be a publishing split deal if it's a complete original work.
right,
But at the end of the day, that artist who's changing that, they
mhm,
just want to release their baby out into the world,
right,
and they can
right,
still make money or still get recognition for what they did in their arrangement,
right,
and they can do it in perpetuity, hopefully, if it gets approved.
right, right,
And yeah, it may not be getting, if Netflix comes calling, they want to use that composition. Yeah, the publisher probably still is the main decision maker, but what about the master sound recording side?
mm,
If your artist, my client, owns that master sound recording,
right,
like they re-recorded everything themselves,
right,
they have full rights in who uses that sound recording,
right,
just not necessarily the composition side,
right.
which is like the intellectual rights, like the songwriter's interest. So you got those two worlds playing, but again, you got a killer rendition. It sometimes works out. It does.
Yeah, and that's it's so true. Like it's I get what you're saying that it's not gonna be everyone, but at the end of the day, like if it's good, like it's good, and there's opportunities that can sprout from that. So again, just comes back to the benefit of trying, and giving it a shot and putting the stuff out there for sure. So and like I've heard stories too about like you touched on, people in film and maybe TV wanting covers more so than the actual. And that's a similar thing. I'm assuming how that breaks down where we're talking about who owns what. But essentially, how does that maybe impact when you add that extra party into there that is trying to, process that as a music supervisor to get this on a film, right? How does that break down in terms of maybe royalties to the original creator, the person making the cover, and so on for that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, let's just take filmmakers or even ad agencies.
Hmm.
I'll be presented a budget. It's obviously my goal to get under that budget, and I'll
Yeah.
have to evaluate the approval parties. So
Mhm.
as I'm painting my canvas, aka my, what I'm about to submit my proposal to each rights holder, I have
Right.
to think about this. Okay, who owns the publishing rights? Publishing rights, again, you're talking about Sony, Warner, Universal, Cobalt, BMG, majors,
Mhm.
or even a small level publisher or middle level publisher.
Right.
But no matter what, I need to get that publisher to say yes. So
Right.
that's our licensing oxygen, no matter
Right.
what audio you're using. But
Right.
that's one side of the equation. I'll have music supervisors or entertainment lawyers or whoever they're working for, if it's the filmmaker themselves,
Mhm.
they'll have enough budget for that publishing side.
Right.
But okay, we want to use the original recording artist audio version,
Mhm.
which is the master rights.
Right.
And that's a separate planet of permission. That's record label. Those are master rights.
Right.
And that can get really, really expensive. I mean, you've got three main players in this world. You got Sony.
Right.
Sony's a master rights division, Sony Entertainment.
Right.
They're huge.
Right.
They have so many labels.
Mhm.
You have the Warner Music Group, another huge behemoth right there. And
Right.
then you got Universal. Those are three. And don't get me wrong, there's a zillion other really
Yeah.
credible high end that own a lot, but those are
Major.
the
Yeah.
three there. And that master side may want to double that price of the publishing side.
Right.
And
Right.
both sides in most of these deals they want to be compensated equally. This is
Right.
what we call most favored nation. This is where the cover artists come in, and
Okay.
this is where the vendors like karaoke pop hits, and vendors like that, or even cover artists,
Right.
where it's a lot cheaper to pay that cover artist, which they're probably tickled that you're using their audio.
Right.
I mean, we've had deals where I've had filmmakers hire me and I'll pluck one right off of YouTube and we'll give them a very generous fee, but we're not going to pay them nearly as much as what the original record label will.
Right.
And this is a way like the Today's Show or other major, again, the reason you hear cover versions, like they're killer cover versions. There's a lot of talent out there.
Right.
But man, trying to get the original Stones, the original Beatles, or we want that Drake, or we want this and that.
Right.
It's like, nope, that could blow out your budget. If money's no object, cool.
Right. Right.
Cool. You
Yeah.
can pay, but every time you're using an original master sound recording, you're
Mhm.
doubling your costs. You're
Right.
always doubling your costs because it's composition / publishing, and you got master. If you take that master out, or you re-record it in-house yourself,
Mhm.
you get the publishing cleared. That's where I come in.
Yeah.
And then you got the cover audio, and you're saving like 90% right on that side. It's huge.
Right.
And again, if you do that with like 5 to 10 songs inside that film project or inside that big advertisement, or you're doing a Kickstarter video,
Right.
I mean, those savings are significant. So we push our artist covers. I mean, if I can get an independent artist and they get featured, I mean, I've worked with a few Netflix deals like this, and
Mhm.
they were happy. They wanted someone small like this. It's cheaper, and at the
Right.
same time, it builds recognition to that cover artist,
Right.
and their album sales start
Go up.
spiking.
Right.
Things start trending for them in the right direction. So we love covers.
Right.
Amen.
Right. And that's another like benefit, I guess, there too. And I mean, with those cover songs, venturing now into like publishing and stuff like that and syncs, I mean, that's such a cool opportunity for artists if they can get on that as well. Talking to that, I guess, what is your suggestion for artists on that side of things? I know sync and all that can go into many different directions. But I know even you guys partner with CD Babe, and I think they have like a publishing side where it's kind of helping. What's your advice in general, I guess, just for artists trying to maybe pursue those things and not really, having an idea of what to do, or, they feel like they're going with some of these companies and maybe trying to find an opportunity, a foot in the door, I guess. Obviously, I think the music has to be good, but it just really depends. Do you say on the situation or?
I mean, so we're definitely your license. Again, I said about we're your licensing nerds, not
Yeah.
necessarily the A&R like pushing out into the world.
Right.
CD Baby actually has special artist services
Hmm.
that help promote recognizable artists or up and coming artists and presenting opportunities and whatnot to them.
Right.
But that's a whole nother world about promotion. What I will say is linking up. I mean, it's the age old practice of linking up with other YouTube channels, other
Right.
musicians, creating your own little communities,
Hmm.
sharing each other on social media, sharing each other's music.
Right. Right.
I mean, it starts kind of homegrown right there,
Right.
and you're not by yourself. There's a lot of other artists. All of a sudden, all of you are kind of compiling your audiences into one larger audience here,
Right. Right.
sharing each other's music and pushing out content,
Right.
constantly pushing out content. So YouTube, there's a YouTube star that's happening right now that
Right.
you've never heard of, and all of a sudden it's blowing up and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the number one advice, and again, this is a cliche, everyone knows, but it's constantly pushing out content.
Right.
If you stop putting out content, you get in a rut.
Right.
Okay, if you're a singer songwriter and you're very against covers, but you're in a, you haven't released music in a while, do a cover here and there.
Right.
Go
Right.
share it with other friends, other artists, other people that even though if you only have like 50 or a couple hundred YouTube subscribers or how many
Right.
people follow you on Twitter,
Right.
start linking up. All those links in that chain add to one big.
Right.
So again, do the buddy system. Find out other musicians like that. So, but
Right.
again, it's not necessarily an area of my expertise. I mean, I will say this: when an opportunity is presented to someone,
Right.
like I want to use part of your song in on my track, or I want to use you for my indie film,
Hmm.
and I'm right out of college or something like that.
Yeah.
Take every meeting. I'm not saying
100%.
you have to say yes to everything, but
Right.
don't just shoot down people. If they want to use your music, great. If you
Right.
want to get fair market value, well, you
Right.
call me, of course.
Right.
I actually help broker these kinds of deals, but
Right.
again, pushing out content in the buddy system
The biggest.
that would be my best. And again, Kevin, you probably can speak on this much more than I can too.
I mean, I think too with the licensing, or sorry, the syncs and stuff like that. I think it's just, like you're saying, having that catalog as well helps. If you're lacking content, for sure. I mean, putting out a cover song helps to fill that gap for sure. Because if I hear a great cover from you, I'm going to be like, okay, what else does this person have, right? So going there and just seeing the cover, or maybe just a lack of other stuff to check out, I think is definitely detrimental to the artist as well. So in this age, yes, you're totally right. Content is king. But I even think about, me, and sometimes you're editing a video and you want to put out, on YouTube, just some music behind that as well too, right? I think, like you're saying, going after some big catchy song, I'm probably going to get a strike or something like that. It's not going to go bode well unless I get the proper licenses. But for artists up and coming, like you're saying, it makes more sense for me to just be like, hey, I see that you're coming, you're growing as well, and I would like to use your song. Would you be open to that, right? So, in terms of that, like enforcement, maybe just to lastly, is that a challenge, would you say, when it comes to, so many creators out there and they use music in that realm? How does an artist, enforce certain things when it comes to covers that are out there on YouTube, maybe not on YouTube, being used in performances, things like that? Is that it? Obviously, it's a challenge. It can be, but I think there's ways for artists to enforce that and make sure that they're getting paid what they're entitled to. Correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's take YouTube for example. You have with your own original compositions in your master sound recordings.
Mhm.
If they appear on other YouTube channels, you have the power to contact YouTube.
Mhm.
They have a team for this kind of thing.
Right.
Where if you've made a deal with another artist that wants to use your composition or master,
Mhm.
you can whitelist those channels. Or if there's a shared monetization deal, you can claim monetization.
Mhm.
And if you become a YouTube partner, that gives you the power to go enforce.
Right.
Again, it's probably a lot floating. I mean, as far as for companies that are kind of like your watchdog and whatnot,
Yeah.
um, again, I don't currently partner with any of them, but
Right.
I know that they're out there, and
Right.
I don't want to drop any names, but
Right.
it's hard because these are pebbles in an ocean.
Right.
It's not easy.
Right.
So you searching all your own music, your name, your titles,
Right.
again, I don't want to cause a frenzy of paranoia,
Yeah.
but if you see that, you see that channel, well, you have the opportunity to say, I want to place a copyright claim.
Mhm.
That's my composition.
Right.
And then you would, that there's channels through YouTube where you would actually state this. So
Right.
you're getting, if there's monetization opportunities where ads and ad revenue is being generated, you have a claim on that.
Right.
Or you can tell them, no, I want this video taken down. I don't like how I'm being represented.
Right.
And there was no sync deal. There was nothing here. YouTube has the power to do that or block certain countries.
Right.
But again, you have to present that you own this work. Well,
Right.
where do you own it? Where is it published? Did you register it with ASCAP or BMI? Did
Right.
you register it with the U.S. Library of Congress?
Right.
Do you have the certificate? I'm not saying necessarily YouTube will vet all that out,
Mhm.
but again, and you have the same thing to do on all other social media networks. There are teams and support systems that they can enforce this, and they can do your dirty work and
Right.
contact them or take it down. Or yeah, cool. That's a cool thing to do. I don't need any sync deal, but my name and everything should be on that
Beyond that.
description box below.
Right.
You have the power to do it. It's yours. Take it back or do something about it.
Right.
You doing nothing, well, that's on you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, even something as small as that might not necessarily be money, but even just getting the exposure of, hey, this is my track in the background here, that helps an artist, especially if it's a big video and that goes viral or something like that too. So,
Well, Kevin, to that point, it's about respect.
right.
It's about respect. Every single time, it's like, cool if I make money. Of course, artists want to make money, but not to have their name on there or being recognized as their work.
Right.
I mean, come on. I'll tell you this. I mean, there's last time I talked about some mom and pop shop publishers, self-published artists, where I have a company that wants to use their music on their upcoming video or a film or whatnot,
Mhm.
but sometimes I just have to ask. It's not that they're going to reject the idea. I have
Right.
to just ask before it's released. Don't ask for forgiveess later. If you ask, say, we're going to release this on June 15th,
Right.
which is my sister's birthday. Sorry,
Yeah.
I sound like it. I want to release this on June 15th. And yeah, cool. That's 2 to 3 weeks from now. Cool. That's great. You asked me. You presented the plan. You told me the media rights. You told me how long you want to distribute. Maybe you made a financial offer. Maybe you don't. But say, how do you want to be accredited? And may I use your song?
Right. Right.
So often they're just like excited. That's great.
Right.
That's fantastic. I'll give you free permission, but just put the following copyright accreditation either in the footage or in the description, and we're happy. And now we have kind of this mini partnership, and I'll tag it on my channel. Then now we got positivity going here instead of, ooh, use my music, slap the hand, call YouTube, So
Right.
asking for permission in advance, it can happen. Yes.
Right. Exactly. And I guess like a lot of times the answer would be yes anyways. So, but no different if the roles were reversed, you would want, that respect and ask that question of, can I actually use this for the project? So, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I know that we kind of touched on this too, but I think of like big artists, like you go to a big concert. I know so many artists do this, but they're performing those covers. From that, does that generate, income for those artists who's the actual owner of the original? Is that true in that regard?
So you're talking about like a concert, bar and grill, outdoor setting, anytime you're performing live music.
Yeah, like a Miley Cyrus goes and does a Fleetwood Mac cover kind of thing. Is that at that level? I know when it's at that high level, is that true that generates income for from a live performance standpoint?
Absolutely, it does. No, that's called public performance
Right.
licensing. So ASCAP and BMI isn't in our country, and CSAC, they aren't just like a public record to show copyright accreditation.
Right.
No, they pay out public performance royalties. All other countries in the world have their own, again, PROs.
Right.
So every venue owner, the venue owner of that bar and grill, of that concert hall, wherever it is, they, by law, have to have a blanket license with a public performance rights organization like an ASCAP BMI in their territory.
Right.
And what they're supposed to do, you're supposed to turn in cue sheets. there are some bar and grills that will say you can't play covers
Right.
because there are spies, ASCAP and BMI, and I know this sounds kind of like
Right.
movie-esque, like fictional, but
Right.
no, this is a real thing. You can definitely check.
Yeah.
There are people that are all over the country now, especially now that live music is coming back, to
Hmm.
go into and they want to write down all the music that live band is playing,
Oh wow.
and they're just paid to do that because that bar owner you're supposed to pay if you have a jukebox.
Right. Right.
Those are public performance royalties, and
Right.
yes, that gets paid to the actual songwriters
Right.
or any
Right.
publishers that are registered at ASCAP and BMI.
Right.
So again, people laugh at me. I've had to settle disputes with like this old bar owner in Mississippi or something like that. And he says, I can't believe they're coming after me for this, this, and that. I said,
Right.
well, sadly, you're a U.S. resident, and this is U.S. copyright laws with
Right.
U.S. composition for your patrons who are walking into your establishment.
Right.
I get it. I totally understand where you're coming from, but this is more, you cannot dilute copyright law. If you're going to use someone else's music, yeah, but it does pay off. Also, if you are registered and you perform your own original compositions,
Right.
you should be turning in your own cue sheet to the ASCAP and BMIs of the world.
Right.
You playing your own music live, and sounds crafty,
Right.
but this is a fact.
Yeah.
You can actually get your own public performance royalties by playing your own music at
Right.
these places. I'm not going to say it's going to be life-changing money or
Yes.
anything like that if you play enough shows,
Right.
but again, yes, everyone, again, the bar, I can't speak on people who don't have these blanket licenses in place.
Right.
But again, when you walk into a doctor's office, it's interesting that you'll hear music or you'll hear something that's not necessarily real music. Okay,
Right.
that's one way around it. But
Exactly.
whenever you hear top 40 music at
Mhm.
any business location,
They got
that's
it.
public performance rights. That goes right in the pockets, right, of the songwriters who own
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and that's very interesting. I thought spies thing is, I love
Totally.
that. Because I think of like, here we have what's called AGLC, where it's, kind of for liquor, that, they do have people that go around, and if you're not, if you're over serving people drinks or something like that, they're kind of watching you. So kind of similar in the same thing for music. And I used to work at a casino actually, and they'd play the same top 40 songs over and over and over, and it would be gut wrenching because you're like, I've heard this song a million times, and you're like, can't you change it? And it's like, really, you probably can't, because if you don't, have the proper things in place, then you're walking into, uncharted territory there for sure. So that's pretty cool. And even the cue sheets, that's another thing that I think some artists are, they don't want to rustle feathers sometimes. I think how that works, with how, if I present that, is that presenting it also to the owner? Like if I'm playing a show at a club, and do I have to present the cue sheets to the owner as well, or is that just strictly to the performance rights organization?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's the venue owner who has these blanket deals with
Right.
ASCAP and
Okay.
BMI,
Right.
and it's their responsibility to ask the cover artist, "What are you playing tonight? I need to know. Is this
Mm.
original? They're all original. Cool." They should be asking, "Do you belong to ASCAP or BMI?" Let's
Right.
turn in those sheets, and it's like either a quarterly, biannually, or annual report. I don't remember which, and
Right.
it's not terribly expensive, but
Hmm.
it's also based on, well, what's your gross revenue? How many patrons do you average? Like there's general census kind of reports they have to do. If you're a
Right.
small coffee shop or you're only doing a little bit, and you might have a singer songwriter up on stage, that's
Right.
going to be charged a lot less than like you're talking Radio City Music Hall or something big like that. So
Right.
gross revenue, box office, stuff like that, that factors into it. And again, ASCAP and BMI are wonderful resources just to get pricing, but not
Right.
as expensive as you might think. Or if
Right.
it's like a one-time event, like you're doing a benefit fundraiser and
Hmm.
you're going to be in a park.
Right.
Well, government owns the park, or
Right.
the state owns the park. But how do we turn this in? The
Right.
right way to do this is that you would actually just apply a one-time event with the
Right.
promoter, who's ever organizing the event. And again, it sounds more complicated than it is, but
Right.
they have they have
Stuff to.
easy go throughs through each one. And again, the rates aren't going to hang you upside down either.
Right.
They want you to make money, but again, it's about respect too, to make sure I'm playing music, even if it's for a benefit event, I still have to turn this in. I still have to do that. Yeah.
Right. Right. No, that's cool. And I mean, this has been a solid chat. I think I've learned quite a few things. I'm gonna have to investigate more of the spy stuff in Canada here, how that kind of works too, if that
Ooh,
is a thing.
SoCan.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's interesting. Now I'm gonna be on the lookout every time I'm when things open up. But yeah, is there any last closing words in general on cover songs or for people that don't know a little bit more about easy song licensing as well?
Again, I'll say the same thing I said. No such thing as a dumb copyright question.
Hmm.
Seriously, educate yourself. We have
Right.
our website, easysonglicensing.com. I mean, it's a good resource. I mean, at very little, you can talk to a human. Talk to a
Hmm.
human about music rights. We have a 1-800 number right in our
Right.
upper right hand corner here.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's 1-800-360-5192. You can call us Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. You can
Right.
tell us about your project. Again, this is something where we want to make sure people know the do's and don'ts. We
Right.
want to make sure, again, it's not necessarily about making money off of you. It's about you empowering the cover artist, or what do I do with my own music? Or I just need some big brother advice about where I should go with this, or how should I plan out a project? Do
Right.
I want to change lyrics of this song, or so I mean, again, we're happy, we're fun. I have a whole team they're just
Mhm.
good people. They're
Right.
just, I mean, again, I'm proud of all my little Navy SEALs here.
Yeah,
It's just a
exactly.
great team. And
No.
again, our clients are so much fun. They're
Mhm.
so much fun. We get so much energy back and forth. So these are positive conversations, even if it is tough love. So
Right.
again, don't be shy. Just hit us up, and again, you can talk to an entertainment attorney, or you
Right.
can call us for free. Either
Right.
way.
Exactly. Probably gonna start there first, yeah, the free version. But yeah, no, I mean, call to action. I would say definitely if you have those questions, burning questions about this, it's not easy. There's a lot of challenging stuff to navigate through sometimes, but it's best to go through someone who's done it, and a company who focuses on that. So definitely, I would encourage artists to jump on the cover song bandwagon if you haven't. As you can see, there's a lot of benefits, and it might not happen for you right away. But the more content you put out there, the more opportunities are bound to come your way. So, again, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us again, Aaron. Again, Aaron Green from Easy Song Licensing. Please go check them out for all your licensing needs and any questions that you might have. So, thanks again.
Oh, Kevin, thanks for the opportunity again. You're
Yeah,
awesome.
appreciate it.